Gems World Academy first graders. My name is Gaia Cornwall and I make books for kids. My first book was Jabari Jumps and I was the author and the illustrator. My second book was The Unicorn Came to Dinner and I was the illustrator, which means I did the drawings, and Lauren DeStefano did the writing. Then I made Jabari Tries and I did the illustrations and the writing. And my latest book just came out called The Best Bed for Me. And I was the author and the illustrator for this one too. So your teacher, Ms. Olan, gave me a whole bunch of questions from you all. And that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to read some of your amazing questions. How did you come up with the story? So a lot of these stories are actually inspired by me when I was a little kid. So in Jabari Jumps, I really loved swimming. And I remember climbing up on the diving board and being so scared because it felt like I was so high up and I would look down and I was scared to jump. So I thought that would be a good story for people because a lot of people could relate to it. And even if they weren't scared of jumping off something, maybe they'd be scared of something else. So it seemed like something that a lot of people could relate to and would enjoy reading about. A lot of people ask me, where did I get the idea for the character Jabari? And that's such a good question, right? Because Jabari and I do not look a lot alike. And let's see, when I talk to kids, we always talk about how we don't look alike. So I have long hair. I don't know if you can tell, it's like piled up on top of my head. And Jabari has short hair. I have blonde hair and Jabari has brown hair. I have glasses. Jabari doesn't have glasses, but he's got goggles on. And I have a bathing suit, but I'm not wearing it right now. Probably the biggest thing that people notice right away is that I'm white and Jabari's black. We have different shades of skin, right? So that's such a good question to ask. When I was making this book a long time ago, Jabari looked just like two of my cousins. They were this age. And when they were little, they liked me to tell people that they were not scared to jump off the diving board. That wasn't something they were scared of. Now, I wrote this so long ago, that now they're really big. They're in high school. And one of them is this big. And the other one, his older brother, is like this big. He's so tall. He's way over 6 feet tall. And if I want to hug him, it's like, do some stretches. That's where Jabari comes from. So when I was trying to come up with a name for Jabari, I was coming up with all these different names and I started researching, and Jabari actually means brave in Swahili. So when I found that name, I just knew it would be perfect. So Jabari Jumps ends with Jabari saying double backflip is next. And so when you're the reader, there are lots of things that you get to decide. So it doesn't say in the book if he does a double backflip or not. What do you think? Do you think he really did a double backflip? You get to decide. The funny thing about the double backflip is that when I wrote it, I thought it was a funny joke and that probably he was just saying that and wasn't really going to jump off and do a double backflip right away. Because, I can't just do a double backflip. I would have to practice that a lot. And so I figured he would have to practice that a lot too. And maybe even if he did practice that a lot, that's a really tricky thing to do. And maybe he wouldn't be able to do it until he was older. And I was just like, it's a funny joke. I've never done a double backflip. I've never done a regular backflip. So when I was making it, I just thought it was a joke. And then my cousins, the ones I was telling you about, they can do a backflip, no problem. It's a little bit scary for me to watch them, but they can do backflips off the diving board. No big deal. Do you ever face your fears? Oh, that is a great question. Yeah, I am scared. I feel like I'm scared of a lot of things. But one thing that I'm scared of is getting shots. I don't know if anyone else is scared of getting shots, but I have to get shots every month. And that was so scary when it started. It started like 3 years ago. And I had to learn how to give myself shots. I do them to myself. And I am very proud that I can do that today. Because when I started out, I was so scared. And I thought about Jabari actually a lot. I was trying to figure out like, how can I get some bravery to do this? So I have a song that I listen to, and I think about people who are very strong, and I think they're very strong and brave, and I picture them getting shots. And I think, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And then also a lot of times I give myself a little treat after. Either I get to read a book, or maybe I'll have like a little piece of candy or something. So now it's really not that scary. I don't like it, but it's not that scary anymore. How do I create my illustrations? And that is fun. I wanted to show you about how my stories start out. So I think people don't realize, like, there's a lot of work that goes into picture books and making stories and making illustrations, but also they don't look like they look in the end. So this is how my stories start out. I don't know if you can see, but it's just like a list of words that probably doesn't make sense to anyone except for me. This is the one I'm working on right now, called Fairy Story. And it says animal tracks, smell maple syrup. Is there a bonfire? S'mores, sledding, boots, red cheeks, breath in the air. So, and then usually at this point, I start making teeny tiny sketches that look more like scribbles. And so here's an example of that. So once I have my story, I'll print it out, and then I do these teeny tiny sketches that nobody can really, I'm just trying to figure out like the pages in the book, what I want different illustrations to look like. And they're just like these messy little sketches, and I make lots and lots and lots of them. And then I do slightly bigger ones. So these are a little bit bigger. I don't even know if you can tell, but that's Jabari, if you can believe it or not, and that's his little sister, Nika. You can kind of tell she's got the wings on. And then once I know exactly what I want the illustration to be, I start drawing them, and I use just a regular pencil. And then I did these in blue because I randomly had a blue pencil. Here's some that didn't actually make it into the book. And look, there's a little pen scribble there. No, can you see this? It's too dark. There's Jabari, that's Nika. This is sketches from Jabari Tries. And we didn't actually use these illustrations. We decided to not put them in. And then for the color, I like to make lots of patterns, and I like to make lots of textures, and I do this with paint, or sometimes I use crayons. And then I scan it in, and I layer it all in my computer, and I use a program called Photoshop, and I put everything together in there, and that's how I do my illustrations. How long did it take you to write this book? That is such a tricky question to answer. It sounds straightforward, doesn't it? But it's not really. So I got the idea for this book a really long time ago, like before you were born, in 2009, probably. And I started doing versions of it in 2009. So I did like a little bit of the story, and then I thought, I think I can make it a little bit better, or I'll change this, or I'll experiment with this. So I did that for a while. And then I started working with my publisher, and the publisher is the company that actually makes the books. So the publisher for Jabari Jumps and Jabari Tries is Candlewick. And can you see that's their logo? It's of a bear holding a candle. You can probably find it bigger. So I started working with them in 2014. And now if you go to the library and you look for this logo, I bet you'll see it on a lot of books. But I started working with them in 2014. And then the book came out in 2017. So you could say 3 years, or you could say like, I don't know, how many years? A million years is what it felt like. I was inspired to be an author because I love reading books so much. I think they're so fun to read. And I love reading all different kinds of books. And when I was little, I think it was even before, I remember reading books, like looking at picture books before I could read. I would go to the library, and I had a very patient librarian who didn't mind that much if I pulled picture books out of the stacks and made like piles of them next to me. And I would look at the illustrations, and if I thought the illustrations were interesting or if I liked how it looked, I would put those in one pile. And if I didn't like how they looked, I decided I didn't want to take those home with me, and so I put them in another pile. So she was very, very patient and kind to me. But I think that's where I started loving picture books. This is such a hard question to answer. I feel like favorites are tricky for me because they change a lot. But right now I am working on a new book called Fairy Walk, and it's about walking in the woods and looking for fairies. So I've been reading this book a lot, which is a very old book, and it's one that I grew up with. You see it? And it's all about different fairies and gnomes and elves and kids. So I've been reading this one a lot lately, and it's a great book. So right now it's like one of my favorites. Let's see, you see? That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Gems World Academy first graders. And thank you so much to your teacher, Ms. Olan, for sending in all these great questions. So everybody keep reading and stay kind and brave. Bye, everybody.